All right. I'll start it. All right. Okay. All right, here we go for real. I got to tell you, I never thought that we would be sitting like this across from each other. There was a point in time I never thought it was even going to be possible. And it's really crazy to think about that it could even get to that point when you consider where we used to be and how things started. So I guess let's go in chronological order before we get to the nitty-gritty of stuff, of how we got to this point, how we even initially met. Oregon State.
Oregon State. Well, you remember the recruiting trip.
It's not, but it's not what you say it is.
It is what I say it is. I remember it. No?
No. You add a little extra to it all.
I always add extra.
But that ain't accurate.
Okay, so you tell me what the story is.
All right, so coming out of Texas, I'd never been west of Texas. Make my first trip to Oregon. My mom is with me on a visit. During the daytime, we are meeting with the coaches. We play with you guys, the current players. And then in the nighttime, the coaches turn us over to you and the teammates. And so all I remember, well, not all I remember, but the main part I remember is you were our driver. So because you one of the few people that had a car. So you was able, you had it like that.
I bought myself.
You didn't buy that car yourself.
I bought it myself.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a car, and you were the one driving us from spot to spot. I remember there was one spot we went to, Steven Jackson was there, former NFL Steven Jackson, not NBA. And then I remember going to a different spot. I don't remember anybody notable there, but there was just a whole bunch of people. But you got this whole story about how I was Harlem shaking and
I don't know if
whatever.
it was Harlem shaking. It was some kind of shake. You come from little old Lamar, got a culture shock when he gets to Oregon, and, you know, it was kind of out of your element to take you out. But coach is like, no, take him out, show him a good time, and then the club, do you remember what it was called?
Platinum? I don't remember the name of it.
I think it was Platinum.
That sounds right, yes.
Platinum?
Yes,
it was Big
that's
Brad's
right.
spot.
Yeah,
Platinum. And then we'd take all the recruits there.
That's right.
And it was popping at the time.
It was.
So we took you there, and like everyone was dancing, and you were doing like, that was your move.
No, it wasn't, man. No, that ain't even no move.
It was not a move.
Anyway, we had a great time. No crazy business happened. Nope. From there, went back to my hotel, went to sleep. The next day, I remember meeting with my mom and the coaches, and we felt really good about things. And we didn't tell the coaches then that we were going to Oregon State, but on the flight back to Texas, I knew that that's where I'd be going. So showed up there. And this is the really weird thing that I would always tell people when we used to work together really closely, and they would always ask, so were you guys really close friends in college? And I would tell them, and I don't know, I never talked to you about this. Yeah, so that would be my response, is kind of shake the head. No, we weren't close friends. We weren't enemies. Yeah. We were just teammates. Yeah. Like, you had your different crew. I had my different crew. We went different ways. After practice, like, we never saw each other. If there was,
you went right to your room.
I went right to my room.
And I would go hang out.
And you was back at Platinum. Yeah. And so we just had different crews and everything. And it wasn't until we get through college. Well, first of all, let's back up a little bit, okay? Because in college, I remember sitting down with Coach John, our coach, after my freshman year. So after my freshman year, actually, there were a couple guys, returners, who had played a significant amount my freshman year that were expected to play the following year. And you weren't one of those guys. You didn't get a chance to play a whole lot. You were playing behind Philip Ritchie, first team All-Pac, Pac-10 back in the day, Brian Jackson. And I remember this. After my freshman year, I was sitting in Coach John's office. I don't know if I ever told you this, but remember, I was kind of like the poster boy going into the sophomore year. You know, like if you look at posters and all,
point guard, everything.
And so, like, Coach John and I, we had a close relationship at the time, and I remember being in his office and we were talking, and he was like, you know, I don't know how we're going to replace Philip. I don't know how we're going to replace Philip. And I said, no, D-Luke can hoop. D-Luke. And he didn't disagree with it, but it was kind of like you sure? You know, like, he hasn't played a whole lot of game minutes. I said, no, you don't. game minutes don't matter. Like, do you see what he's doing in practice? Do you see when he does get in the game? Because I remember you would get in the games, like I think you played against Arizona that season, and somebody else, and you got in for a few minutes, and like you was just instant buckets. And so I told him, I was like, no, I don't think we're gonna have a void. And he said, well, sure, I hope you're right about it. And I felt comfortable. I don't know if I ever told you that, but I felt really comfortable going into that sophomore year. And then, of course, like, you got out there and just took off on everything. Like, you went from
this big walk-on with braces and curls in his hair.
Just braces, yeah. Oh, nothing. Like, what was that? I never, like, talked to you about that. What was that transformation like for you?
It was tough. Going into playing at a D1 school and walking on and having to go through, like, 4 months of torture and hell, basically. And 6 a.m. workouts, and I'm not even on the team. I'm, dedicated to trying to make the team. But it was hard work. Like, there's times where I wanted to quit.
Why didn't you?
Because I talked to my dad, and he's like, "Listen, if you quit now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." And so I said, "He's usually right." So I said, "Okay, I'll keep on going." And the grind was real, man. We're doing all those football workouts, and I'm not like Lamar Hurd, all athletic and all that stuff. Like, I'm just growing into my body. I grew like 3 or 4 inches that year, and it was tough for me, you know. So just to transit and being treated as a walk-on, that was tough. Like, grab the bags, do this, do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you stuck around because we needed you. 2-time first team all Pac-10 after that point in time. And I thank you because I'm always super open. I tell people, especially kids, when I talk to them and coaching them now, like, always make sure your mind is right because, in college, like, my mind on the basketball court wasn't always right. I was second guessing everything. I was afraid to play the way that I felt like I was capable of playing. But that didn't matter because I had you that I could always kind of dish it to. And so
I was everywhere I went on the court, I would try to find the gap, and you'd always see me. Every single time. Pushing the ball up, I'm always there, and I'm expecting it, got my hands ready.
But no, we had a great time, man. So we played in Oregon State, and then even after that, we went our separate ways. I went to Germany to play one season. You were in Portugal, Poland. And so it wasn't until 2007 I made the decision to stop playing. I started working at the Hoop in Beaverton and fell in love with it. And that's because of my upbringing growing up. I grew up with my coach in Texas, moved out of my mom's house as a 6th grader to live with my coach, stayed with him on the weekdays, went home on weekends. Midway through the year, I stopped going home on weekends. So eventually it became my home. My mom saw it. She moved the rest of the family up to that spot. I spent 7 years with that coach. And that person kind of gave me everything that I am today through my influence for the game of basketball. So that's why in 2007, I said, I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna start working with this group of kids. And I had no idea what that would look like. I didn't know if it would be coaching in a few games here and there, going and hanging out, because my coach was involved in my life in everything I did. So to me, that's what the youth coaching experience is about. And so I started working at the Hoop, and then I remember, I think it was the spring of '08, or was it sooner, that you came around the area. Or
it was about,
did you play the season before that?
It was like '07.
Okay, so it was '07. So it was the winter. That winter of '07. Yeah.
Because I went overseas and I came back and I wasn't doing anything. And I was just working out, but I was just spending all my money. So I'm like, I'm home for like 4 or 5 months. I'm like, man, this makes no sense. Like, I go make all this money and I come home and I'm just like, living off of it, and I don't have any, supplemental income coming in. And so I just was like, man, let me see what Lamar's doing, And then I went over there. I'm like, man, I ain't trying to coach no kids. I ain't trying to be in the gym all day grinding, running around, like
working. I'm
going overseas. I'm making some real money, and And then I was like, man, let me just go over here and try this for a little bit, because you're like, hey, come in, do the, and I think I went in there, and I was like, man, okay, I can do this. Like, oh man, you can do some lessons, you can do some camps, I can pay you this. I'm like, this big Lamar Hurd's my boss now. I was like, I'm not going. I was like, no, man, I ain't doing it, man.
It ain't no different than the playing days. You ain't remember no plays, and only play you knew was catch, make a move, and score.
That's right.
Which was a good enough play.
That's all I did.
But I do remember. So you did come in, and right away, I got to tell you, I was instantly surprised with how well you did with everything. Because this was kind of a new situation for us and learning one another in a work environment, because we ain't know each other outside of playing some basketball games. I just remember kids started gravitating towards you really quickly, and it just started to grow there in the hoop, and it started getting to the point where the YMCA took over the building, because this was before, like some people don't even know, the YMCA hasn't always been there. And they took over it in 2008.
Which changed the game.
Which changed it a little bit. And so at that point, we started looking at like, okay, well, there's a certain way we want to do this, and we respect everything that they are doing there and what they want to do there, but we kind of got some ideas as to what we want to do. So that was when the talks began of starting this organization where we work together, former teammates, and I think we were in the same boat that I was personally in when I started in 2007, where we knew we wanted to do something, but we don't know exactly what it's gonna look like. And so here we go, 2009, after some back and forth as to do we do this, do we not, we roll out all in one. And I think when we started out of the course, we probably had a ballpark 60, 70 kids, maybe. And within about 6 months or so, we had like 150. 6 months after that, we got like 200. And then the number just keeps growing. And it gets to the point where we have 30 teams. Remember that season we had 30 teams?
32.
32. So you know the exact number because you did all the jersey orders.
We gotta break 30 and we hit 32.
But 32 teams. And for us, it was, we were coaching, we were having a great time.
I think our staff was a big piece of it.
Staff was a huge piece of it. We were taking kids on trips, retreats. We were going to Oregon State, who's always been great to us in terms of being able to bring the kids back and forth. The Casa Leon retreat.
Blazer games.
Where we had, Blazer games, all of that stuff.
Casa Leon set us apart too.
Yeah, it did. Nobody else had that.
Yeah.
Nobody else had it was like basically a resort house where the kids can go vacation.
Swim.
Still within the confines of Portland. Like we're not going over to Central Oregon or something like that. Cool stuff like that. And then we were everywhere. We were at games. We were doing the street jam, the 3-on-3 contest, the dunk contest. Remember when I came out there, had to jump over you one time?
10 kids.
But like we were doing all of that stuff, and everything was going great, it seemed like, from the outside. And then comes 2011, around that time period. Now, this is a time period where I personally did a lot of reflection in terms of where we were at as an organization, where I was at as an individual, and looking back at why I started working with kids and what was I accomplishing at the time. And I felt like at the time, we were making a lot of money, we had a lot of kids, we had a lot of influence, but for me, I never felt like, and this is to no fault of anybody, it's no fault of you, but we had gotten to a place where we were so big, the growth happened so fast, it wasn't controlled. We didn't really have a blueprint going into it. And I felt like I was at a place where I wasn't able to deepen the relationships that I wanted to with certain kids that were there, certain kids that reminded me of me, kids that maybe not to the extreme of moving out your mom's house to go live with your coach, but kids that I knew whatever coach says goes. Like whatever he embodies, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to be. And I wanted to really try to find a way to hone down on working with those kids. And I remember I started feeling like, because we had a lot of good people involved with us from a support and resource standpoint, but I always wanted to do more. Like, and maybe it was too much more, but I was like, I want to build us a facility. I want us to have our own home and all this stuff. And it led
big visions.
And I had to do some big/crazy stuff to like try to pursue it in my mind. I don't know how you felt, but I felt like we were at a place where we kind of hit this point and we're just at this point. And to me, that wasn't the end of it, and that wasn't it, and that wasn't never the goal of it. And so I remember 2011, we started having some conversations. We had an employee with us that was helping to try to build the business, help us get out there, find different locations and all that stuff. And I got to a point where we would have meetings scheduled, and I would tell you guys, I don't want to be a part of that meeting. You remember this?
Yeah, because you didn't want to expand to the east side or any expansion. You wanted to stay where you're at. So smaller.
So when we would have these conversations, I remember you and I, for the first time, got to points where we would try to communicate it, and like I would tell you where I was at, and for whatever reasons that you can express, you weren't having it. So why were you not, why from 2008 to 2000, or 2007 to 2011 at this point that we've been working together, in every conversation we've had, you've trusted me fully, you believed what I was saying fully, and it's not like we never had arguments, because we had arguments before, but we were always able to communicate through things and get to a place where the trust was established and everything was straight. But this was the first time that wasn't the case. Why?
Because, first of all, I was hearing a lot of things, and they're all the same things from multiple parents, from players that we have in our program, their parents coming up to me saying, oh, I heard this, Lamar's gonna go start his own, organization and this and that. And I'm like, and I heard it, over and over and over and over again. And it got to a point where I was like, these parents ain't just gonna make this up and come up to me, maybe Lamar is trying to pull a fast one. And I kept thinking that, I was like, nah, man, Lamar's Lamar. Like, he wouldn't do that to your boy. He wouldn't do that to me. And I kept hearing it, and then I was just like, I'm gonna address it. And you're like, I don't do rumors. Like, I remember you saying, like, I don't do rumors. I'm like, it's not a rumor, man. Like, these parents are coming up to me. If that happened to you, you would be like, man, is David going around saying that, or somebody else going around saying that? So it got to the point where I was like, man, I maybe he's, gonna try and pull a fast one on me. And then, I don't know if you remember, like, you were like, hey, you sent an email to your parents like, I'm not gonna coach anymore.
Yes.
So right there, I was like, oh, okay. They're planning something, because why aren't they going to coach? Like, it's our youth organization. They're planning on doing something. So as soon as I saw that, I just painted the picture in my head that you guys would try to go and start and do something else on the side, and then and that's what had me rolling. I was like, okay, yeah, I want to, like, if you're going to do that, we're not waiting 6 months. Like,
yeah,
it needs to stop right now.
Oh yeah, well then you became Sergeant Lucas.
Oh yeah,
out of nowhere.
I was black.
So
I was black-hearted after that.
So this is where my questions lie. Is that makes sense what you just said? But what was it? So was when I was talking to you directly and telling you, like, yeah, I'm not going to coach. I'm not going to coach a team anymore. Like, this ain't for me. I'm not going to do.
I took it as, you're not coaching, you're going to go start another program and do what you want to do, because this isn't what you want to do anymore. Like, you don't want it to be big. You don't want to expand to the east side. We were kind of going back and forth on that piece. So I also automatically assumed that you're going to go start another program.
Do you remember me telling you I don't want to leave all in one?
I remember you saying that.
You just didn't believe it?
I didn't believe it.
So we go from that point in 2012. This is when these conversations start. It started in 2011 a little bit. In 2012 is when it really came to light, the spring season. That was my last season at All-in-One. And at that point, for me, I remember feeling like, I'm over here trying to tell Luke I don't want to leave. And yeah, I don't want to keep coaching this team specifically, because what I want to do is set up a situation. We got enough kids, we got enough influence right now, we got enough people that could help us to set up a situation where it can be more about the relationship building. And not to say that we weren't building relationships with kids as it was. It's just like I felt we could have done more, again, kind of mimicking what I went through when I was a kid. And I emphasize, like, this isn't a fault of you or of me or anybody. We got out the gates and we got running, and this is where we were at. For me, when I felt like I couldn't communicate with you and like you wouldn't believe me anymore, despite the stuff that is happening, because I had never one time led you wrong. I had never lied to you. I had never played you. I never did nothing. And I told you, despite what it's looking like and whatever anybody's saying, I don't want to coach this team. And
any team.
Any team.
Yeah, you were done.
I don't want to coach any team. So I would tell people that I never wanted to leave the organization, and like we tried to have conversations about it, but the thing that I never said before this past year, because I didn't want to throw him under the bus like that, is, well, we kind of had like a block in terms of being able to hear me, because because he was involved. And so, like, I get it. I fully understand. Like, I might have been in the same boat as you. Yeah. Because I know, like, looking back at our organization, I remember sitting down in 2011, early in the year, with Jim Hansett, our teammate at Oregon State we used to have, and he had to talk us off the ledge because you were so upset at one of our employees, and you was ready to cut him out the organization, and I was defending him to you, and you were mad at me for defending him. And we almost went separate ways then. And so I think at that point, that's when you started feeling like, yo, he just don't want to work with me. Like he's kind of done with me, and you thought I was choosing somebody else over you. Is that the feeling that started to come?
That's the feeling.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's because that's what you
I
started.
think because we was not seeing eye to eye for the first time in ever, and I think that I was like to the point where it's like there's no kind of going back. Like the trust is gone. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
So for the first time, like we're not cool. Whatever you say, I don't want to hear. You're probably not believing.
Whatever you say,
I ain't caring. We're not believing. And I remember it became a mess. And after we went the separate ways, then the other side of basketball started that fall. So here's something I want to clarify for you so that you know. When I was leaving, I knew that I was still going to work with kids. And that's something I said in that meeting with the lawyer. And I remember that's why I got the faces I got, because the idea was kind of like, well, if you're still working with kids, why are you leaving an organization that's like bigger than every other organization in the area?
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember at the time, with you not coaching.
It started to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, so we had like less kids, and it wasn't like it was going like this or like going like this. It was like going down like this.
Yeah.
So I knew the whole time, it's like, listen, we are all in one. Like we're the face of all in one, and the reason why it's cracking is because of us. And if you take away me, take away you, it's going to go like this, and it's going to have to be rebuilt or the doors are going to have to shut.
It's crazy because over the next few years, like, I ain't want to talk to you. I don't know how you felt about talking to me, but I think we would see each other kind of in passing.
I would always say something.
Yeah, you would say like you would say a random.
Like I wanted you to say something to me. Every single time I saw you, like, what's up, Lamar? Like every single time I saw you, I wanted you to turn around and at least know that I'm trying to say hi. Like, even if I mean it or not, like, I was trying to get your attention every single time. And they got to the point where I was like, man, this is, that was years later. And I was like, man.
I could say I had no interest in having a passerby conversation or acting like what happened didn't happen. Yeah. And so for me, it was always, people would always ask me, any chance of you and David Lucas getting back together? Or being friends or any of that stuff? And I would say, early on, I thought no. Like with how contentious things got when we first split, I remember having a conversation with somebody, and it's a guy that knows both of us, and he asked, how come y'all can't just like sit down and talk? Why can't y'all? And I said, you know what? If there is anybody, and I told this guy this, I said, if there's any person that I could see sitting down with at some point and him being able to be real about what happened and be honest, I was like, it's David. It's like, I don't like him right now. I don't like him at all. But if somebody could do that, it'd be him. And I said, if he ever said he wanted to have that conversation, I would have that conversation with him. Like, wouldn't even be no question to it. So
the whole time that every time I see you, and it was like 5 years in, and then it got to almost 6 years, and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, it's been 6 years since I talked to this random joint that we used to be like Batman and Robin.
I know.
Running around, doing
everywhere.
all kind of things together, talking till 2 in the morning like boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, everywhere.
And doing all those videos and stuff. Anyways, it just got to the point where I was like, man, this is crazy, And I sat down with Brian Grant. We went to lunch, chopped it up about the charity basketball game we're doing. And sat down, and he was like, hey, have you talked to Lamar? And I was like, nah, I ain't talked to him. He goes, you should reach out to him. And I was like, I ain't reaching out to that. Just leaving me in the cold. And so I remember sitting there at Thirsty Lion being like, you know what? I'm going to hit him up right now. Let's see if he responds. And so I hit you up, and I was like, what should I say? And I was like, I'm just going to be real. He's like, just be real, be honest. And I was like, man, vulnerable. Boom. Send. And he responded like a couple hours later. It's like, yeah, let's meet up. When do you want to meet? let's meet at Starbucks. We always used to meet.
Did you expect me to say that?
No. I didn't know. I was like, man, he might not respond. And then I just move on. But that was a chance I took. And, you know, we were close, man. We were, you know, best friends, talked every day, hung out, built a huge organization, did a lot of things. You helped me with a lot of the foundation stuff at the beginning, the clinic and stuff. So I do remember that. You had a relationship with my dad. You know, I didn't know if you were going to respond or not. And, you know, I see you all the time, play the games. We have a lot of synergies, a lot of things, you know, relationships that are close to us. And just, you know, when all these people saying, you know, oh, have you talked to Lamar? What do you think about Lamar? I always say good things. But in my mind, I'm like, man, forget Lamar.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
But as soon as you got the job, like I knew you were getting the job. And as soon as you got the job, I was happy for you. I was like, man, I want to see him do good. You know, it got to that point where I was like, well, if I'm feeling this way, I might as well reach out to him. You know, so I did, and it ended up working out.
Well, I think that was huge of you to do. It'd been really easy to just be like, oh, he ain't reaching out to me. Why am I gonna reach out to him? And I always felt like I got to a place where I'm cool, like I have no more animosity towards you. This is where I felt before you reached out. Like there's no more animosity, but at the same time, I have no interest really in being friends and moving forward unless we're able to have a conversation and address what it is. Like we got to move forward in honesty. It can't be, are we buddy, let's just keep going. And then like, well, hold on now. Yeah, so for me, I always want to have that. And I always felt, and I don't know that this is right or wrong, but I felt deeply that with how things happen, our first moment of separation kind of came when I felt like you didn't trust me for whatever reasons. And you outlined a lot of reasons that make a whole lot of sense. But I felt like, well, if Luke don't trust me, then we cannot move forward until either he gets the answers he needs or understands whatever it is that happened or whatever the case is. But I need him to be at a space where I feel like, all right, if I'm gonna talk to you, you're gonna listen. So I always felt for the longest like, all right, well, if I reach out to you and I'm talking to you, that's the same as kind of what was going on before where I'm telling you stuff, but you might not be at a place where you feel like, okay, I can trust you. And so that's why I always said, if Luke ever reaches out to me, I'll sit down and talk with him because to me, that was signal right away that one, he's ready to hear whatever it is I gotta say. And almost kind of like the old days, like I know what he says, he's telling me what it is. For us to move forward, I just always felt like that would be the best thing. And so when you did that, like it didn't surprise me because like I told people, like if there's anybody that would do something like that, it'd be you. But I think it really just speaks to kind of you and your growth and how you've been. Because I've been watching you from a distance, whether I've liked you or disliked you, and you have grown. You really have. You've grown a lot where I can tell the things that are important to you now. Like when I sat down with you, one of the first things I asked you was, what's important to you now? What are you trying to do through your foundation? And I remember you saying, man, we're trying to, instead of casting a net so wide, we're kind of trying to deepen the relationships we have with a lot of kids now and try to give all we can to them and then slowly make incremental growth from there. And so then I was like, okay, we could have done that 6 years ago together when I was trying to tell you.
You're like, that's what I want to do. I was like, oh, man, I didn't even know.
But it was all joke. It was all love. It wasn't like a rub in a face type thing because honestly, there's a lot of stuff if you wanted to, like you could rub in my face. There's things that you had told me from 6, 7 years ago that you said, it would end up this way if you do this way with this person, whatever the case was. And when we first sat down and met a month ago or so, whenever it was, that could have been what everything was about for you, and it wasn't. So I appreciated that right off the bat. I appreciated you taking ownership for your role in whatever took place. And so like I could see really quickly that you were at a place where, okay, we can truly move forward with everything. And I just, from here moving forward, I would love to keep trying to find ways that we can use our positions, our resources, and everything to do what I know we wanted to do back in 2007 when we got started, but we just didn't really know how to do. And so I think we're in a position right now where what you're doing through the foundation, through the community and all that, and what I do, we're in a position where we can make a lot of impact, and that's why it was vital, I think, for us to be able to come back together at some point, because it's not about us. And we have responsibilities, and it started with you leading the way, taking that responsibility, saying, no, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk, we're going to have a discussion, and getting us to this point. And so I look forward, I'm hopeful that this is just a start of something that can move forward and be transformational for the people that actually need it.
Right. I like that.
Okay.
I want to be clear too. When I first reached out to you, like it was Brian Grant that kind of gave me the kick and said, hey man, do it right now. Like just do it, see what happens. You know, if I can hash relationships and make amends with people and do this and do that, then you can do it. And so it was mainly that, but it's been 6 years, you know, and we were close. So like, no matter how things ended, like I'll always have like all the good memories with you and all the things we did. And so like with losing my dad, then losing my mom, it was like, man, if I were to like, something happened to me, like Lamar would be the first person I would want to reach out to kind of make amends. So I was like, why not do that now and see what happens out of it? And then, you know, before, instead of waiting until something bad happens, then saying, oh, hey, Lamar, you know, this is going on. I just wanted to, you know, make amends with you and kind of clear the air. And so I'm glad I reached out, man. I'm glad that, you know, we kind of hit it off, you know, and cleared the air, and you threw things at me. Because I had no idea. Like, I was like sitting there, I was like, man, I wonder if I was doing things that, you know, made Lamar feel a certain way, or maybe I was doing some things that were wrong and I wasn't even aware of, you know? And so like for 6 years, I'm thinking like, what is the reason? Like why, like what is the big reason why he, you know, was leaving? You know, I knew that there had to be some good reasons for, and you told me some things that I was doing. I was like, oh, I didn't think about that, you know? That could have hurt you and the whole foundation piece. And I didn't think about that, but I was really sitting back thinking about it. I was like, if Lamar started a nonprofit and kind of put all his energy into that, and then, you know, that kind of seemed like I was kind of doing my own thing and going to leave All in One or not spend as much time with All in One. So I'm just glad that I reached out to you, and Brian gave me that nice little nudge.
Shout out to BG.
Yeah, gotta give
Shout
him
out
some
to
love.
BG.
So,
well, good, man. We move forward from here. Now we still have all of that in front of us and some, so let's use it the right way this time. All right.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
This big never change heaven. Yo, it's a wrap, kid.
Yo, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Done.